Good morning and welcome to the weekend. Yes, it is Saturday, the 19th of September, and hope you've got a wonderful weekend lined up. Welcome to the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio. I will be your host today. Hi, I'm Paul, and in the news today, Panthers increase a winning streak and take the minor premiership. It's 1 year out to the Women's Rugby World Cup. We have our second Ranfurly Shield clash of the defence of the year today. Kiwis go through to the quarterfinals in the squash. We have a new leader in the Giro Rosa, and the Tour de France is coming towards its end. We'll bring you up to date with the curling nationals and mixed nationals, that is, as well as update on how Danny Lee and Ryan Fox are going in the US Open. And let's start off with that some cycling news. And yes, due to the crash yesterday, Annemiek van Vleuten, who was leading the Giro Rosa, had to abandon the race with a fractured wrist. Obviously, one of the obviously in cycling, holding on to the handlebars is a key thing, and any damage to the wrist means that yes, she could not continue. That meant that Katrinas Nawadoma of Canyon SRAM started the day in pink, but at the end, it was Anna van Bregen who took over the overall lead, finishing second behind Elisa Longo Borghini. And obviously, she'll be looking at defending that pink jersey in the future. Michaela Harvey had a good day, finishing third on the stage. And that means that in the overall classification, she is still sat in fifth place in there with Elisa Longo Borghini, and the person who won the stage, picking up some places. Moving on to the Tour de France then, and in the Tour de France, Søren Kragh Andersen picked up his second win of the Tour de France. He made a late break from a select 12-man leading group and stayed away to win the stage by just under a minute. Sam Bennett finished ahead of Peter Sagan, which strengthening his hold on that in the points jersey, the green jersey competition. It was a flat stage today, so no change in the King of the Mountains, and all the favourites finished together. I mean, there was no change in the general classification. Primoz Roglic still leads Tadej Pogačar by 57 seconds in that one. It's all going to come down to the tonight's stage, which is the time trial onto Planche de Delphi, which is a bit of a kick at the end of that one. So we'll see how if there's any changes before they finish in Paris on Sunday night, which is normally a processional stage with a sprint at the end of it. So don't expect any changes on the final day to the general classification, but the green jersey could still be up for grabs in that one. And I'm going to hand you over to Stephen to find out who's having wonderful birthdays today.
Morena, Paul, and of course, Ngā Mihi Haramaki, New Zealand Sports Radio. Welcome to your weekend as well, everybody. We have birthdays this morning, or in birthdays this morning, a Scottish-born rugby player making his mark in Super Rugby. A first five with a cult following, and finally a Japanese rugby international born in New Plymouth, and that's where we start this morning. Bryce B. Robbins, born this day, the 19th of September 1980, is a New Zealand-born player. He was born in New Plymouth. He's also been a Japanese rugby player who's played at centre for Munakata Sanix Blues in the top league and of course also Japan. He played for the Hurricanes in 2002, 2003. On the 22nd of April 2007, Robbins made his international debut for Japan against Korea, where they won 82-0. Robbins was named as part of the Japanese squad for the 2007 Rugby World Cup, that team coached by John Kirwan. Robbins is the son of 1985 All Black Bryce Robbins, a wing who toured with the All Blacks to Argentina after initially being selected for the aborted tour of South Africa earlier the same year. Well, they still made it to South Africa. There was a team called the Cavaliers. Moving right along, Marty Banks, born this day, the 19th of September 1989, in Reefton, is a New Zealand rugby union player. He played in the fly half position and occasionally at fullback. He played for Tasman in the Mitre 10 Cup after the 2016 season. He will be joined. He joined at Benetton in the Pro 12. Banks had previously played for Russian club Kransky in 2011, and that's where they get paid a whole lot of cash in a paper bag, but we won't delve too much into that. The mafia could be tuning in. And before he headed back to New Zealand ahead of the 2012 Heartland Championship with Bullard, he made his debut for Tasman in 2013 with his strong performances, which saw him named in the Hurricane squad for the 2014 Super Rugby season. He joined the Highlanders in 2015, where he got more game time and scored the winning points in the 2015 Super Rugby final against his old team, the Hurricanes. He has been named to rejoin the Highlanders squad for the 2019 rugby season, and that was last year. And finally, Finlay Christie, born at this day, the 19th of September 1995, in Peebles Shire. Yes, that's a real name. Peebles Shire in Scotland. I think Paul might know where that is. Apparently it's in the Scottish borders. Is a Scottish-born rugby union player who currently plays as halfback for the Blues in Super Rugby and Tasman in New Zealand's domestic Mitre 10 Cup. His impressive this season at provincial level meant it came as no surprise when he signed with Super Rugby side the Chiefs in 2017. At the end of 2017, he signed with the Hurricanes for 2018 Super Rugby season, and of course he made it a third Super Rugby side by signing with the Blues. So there you go. That's Finlay Christie, Marty Banks, and of course Bryce Robbins. But the first two I mentioned, Christie and also Banks, they'd be almost having a double celebration because they both played for Tasman, and of course Tasman far too strong for Northland last night, Paul, which you'll mention shortly. But I've got to say, have you ever heard of Peebles Shire in Scotland?
No, it's probably Pebbleshire, but no, I have not heard of
Is that how you
Pebbleshire.
say it? Oh, okay.
In Scotland, I've never heard of it, and we do hope that he's able to, Finlay Christie, able to eat his cake today, because I believe he had his appendix out this week, which meant that he missed the game last night. So yes, hopefully he's recovering well from that. There.
Paul, I was just thinking, watching last night's game, how much strength and depth they've got when you've got the likes of Finlay Christie still sitting in the stand. You've got Mark Tillier sitting in the stand. You've got Quinton Strange, who I think had a little bit of an injury, and of course you've got Putty Parkinson not available. It just does not seem fair in life.
They have got a very, very strong squad. And Stephen not wearing his Northland cap today, but yes, I understand his disappointment with the result last night. Oh, he has. Oh, yes, Rise the Tanifar. He's got his wonderful hoodie on.
No rise last night though, Paul.
Campbell, where's my free hoodie? That's what I want to know. Oh, yeah, that was probably because that was due to Stephen did the live commentary for the Northern Club finals. So thank you for him. But yes, moving on to the rugby update, and we are 1 year out from the Women's Rugby World Cup. And even though it's disappointing there'll be no test matches for the women this year, they have announced the 1 year out from that, and that Eden Park will be hosting some games as part of that tournament. Also, yesterday, as Stephen mentioned, we had Tasman cruised to a comfortable 54-21 victory over Northland. They're using their All Blacks to their fullest while they still have them, with Sevu Reece picking up a hat-trick of tries in that game. Northland did seek that fourth try to try and get the try bonus point and come away with something from the game, but unfortunately came up just short in that one. Don't forget today that we have 3 games in the Mitre 10 Cup. I will be at 2 of those, bringing you post-match reactions, post-match interviews and updates on our Facebook page. So just check out New Zealand Sports Radio on Facebook. I will be at Waikato versus North Harbour, and also Bay of Plenty versus Southland. So yes, I'll be hot-footing it from Hamilton down to Rotorua between those games. Also, we have the Ranfurly Shield Challenge match between Canterbury and Taranaki. So another face-off between Richie Mwanga and Bowden Barrett, who will come out on top this time in this one. Will Canterbury be able to defend the Shield, or will Taranaki take it back? Again, I'll see lots of All Blacks on show in those games today. So do catch those games on Sky TV, because yes, crowds are definitely at a minimum. I don't think tickets are not available unless you're sponsors or members for those games. I'm going to hand you back now, Stephen, for the sport that just keeps on giving. It's our NRL update.
Well, the good news, Paul, is it's giving on the field, and that's where it counts. And last night's games, the Panthers too strong for the Cowboys, and the Eels eased past the Broncos. We'll also look at the games on today, and we'll check in on the Betfred League. But in our first game last night, we saw the Panthers extend their winning streak to 14 in a row, but it also meant that they took out the minor premiership for 2020, proving far too strong for the Cowboys up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, winning by 32 points to 12 after leading by 20 points to 0 at half time. Now, they pretty much got off to a very hot start within the first 15 minutes, scoring 3 tries to Brian Toa. Only in the 3rd minute, they scored again, Stephen Crichton in the 10th minute, and Josh Mansour again in the 13th minute. And when Jerome Luai scored in the 33rd minute, that made it 20-0 at halftime, and the die was well and truly cast. In the 4th minute of the second half, Viliami Kikau scored the Panthers' 4th try to, I beg your pardon, scored the 5th try to extend that lead out to 26 points to 0 before the Cowboys came back in the second half to tries to Hamish Tabuai Fidau and Kyle Felt in the 69th minute. Brad Naden adding an extra try for the Panthers to give them these 6 tries, 20 points to 0 at halftime. That final score again, 32-12. Minor premiers, the Penrith Panthers. Now, if they go all the way, win their final round robin game next week in round 20, and go on and win the next 3 games, that'll take that winning streak to 18, which will break the all-time record. Now, here's a question for our followers. Who's currently got that all-time record? I just had no time to look it up this morning. So if you can tell me who's got the actual current winning streak in the NRL at the moment, we want to hear from you. And moving along to our second game, well, it looks like the Broncos are going to be stuck firmly to the bottom of the table, even though there is one round to go, because it was the Eels at Bankwest Stadium last night doing the business, winning by 26 points to 12 after they led by 20 points to 6 at halftime. They scored 5 tries to 2 in total, and of course scored those 4 tries in the first half, tries to Blake Ferguson and Mike Osivo in the 20th and 22nd minute respectively, and then Clint Gutherson, the fullback for the Parramatta Eels, picking up a double in the 33rd and 37th minute. The 1 try coming from David Fafita for the Broncos in the 29th minute. Showed some good strength to get across the line and score that try. So 20-6 at halftime. In the second half, only the 2 try scoring movements in the game. Herbie Farnworth tightening it up for the Broncos, scoring in the 44th minute. and it was Jai Field with a try in the 49th minute that pretty much ended the scoring for the Eels to give them their 26 points to 12 victory. Interestingly enough, no points actually scored in the last 20 minutes. So both teams failing to capitalise on chances. That final score again, the Eels 26, the Broncos 12. And just looking at games today, our first game, which starts at 5 p.m. New Zealand time, sees the Sea Eagles take on the Titans from Lottoland Stadium in Sydney, and then we head up to the beautiful Kawana waters up in the Sunshine Coast, where the Storm take on the West Tigers. That's 7:30 p.m. Kickoff, and our final game of the evening sees the Roosters, who are on a hot streak at the moment, taking on the Sharks at the Sydney Cricket Ground. And if you've got enough energy, if you haven't had your fix of sport, that kicks off at 9:35 p.m. today. So we head across and have a quick look at the Betfred Super League. Only the one game played so far, and I'm happy to announce Huddersfield beat Wakefield by 29 points to 6, and that game was played overnight. And that's it in rugby league news today. Have a great day, everybody. Of course, Paul, looking forward to some of your post-match reaction down there at FMG Stadium. Of course, Waikato taking on North Harbour. Have a great day, everybody. Kia pai tō rā. Hei a pōpō.
Thank you very much, Stephen, as he takes his early exit to the gym. He's the healthy one here on New Zealand Sports Radio, unlike myself, who likes a good ice cream and chocolate. Moving on then, and in High Performance Sports New Zealand has commissioned an independent audit of its handling of various controversies recently, the way that it's handled the canoe racing, and in particular allegations. Yesterday, remember, canoe racing announced a restorative process. Now High Performance New Zealand has said that they had they've admitted to there were divergent views as to how they handled the canoe racing. Handling of the canoe racing program, and so they have appointed prominent sports lawyer Don McKinnon to conduct an audit of the agency systems and processes to make sure they have the correct governance in process to look after athletes, coaches, and staff's well-being. Moving on to the squash, and the two Kiwis over in England playing as part of the playing in the Manchester Squash Open have both gone through to the quarter-finals. Joel King cruised through, beating Lucy Turmel 11-4, 11-5, 11-5, and so yeah, comfortably cruised through to the quarterfinals. Paul Cole found it a much tougher prospect, going through 11-7, 8-11, 11-5, 12-10 in that one. So yes, tough one there, taking just under an hour to complete his match against the Egyptian Tarek Momen. Moving on then to the in the curling, and in the we have the New Zealand mixed doubles are taking place today. National mixed doubles in the curling. Nat and Dobby topping Pool A, comfortably having won all three of their matches. Courtney and Dave have qualified from Pool B, having won 4 of their 5 matches. And Pool C is a tighter fight. All the teams have won and lost matches in that one, so we'll see who comes out on top there. And Pool A actually is Nat and Dobby have won 3 of their games, but Jess and Ben have also won their only 2 matches so far. So yeah, tight there in Pool A as well. Don't forget that the final of the National Mixed Doubles will be on Sky next on YouTube. So catch that tomorrow. And obviously, we'll bring you up to date with how Saturday's matches went. Tomorrow morning on the morning sports briefing, your best way to start the day up to speed with all the important sports news. That's right, we come to you live at 7 a.m. Every single morning. Moving on then to the golf, and we have the US Open taking place at the moment. Danny Lee is tied 50th at 5 over par after he has finished his second round. Ryan Fox, though, is struggling. He's in tied 131st at 13 over, and he's still playing round two. He's on just finished the 10th hole on there. So, yeah, Ryan looking at missing the cut for certain for the weekend, unfortunately. But good to be there and good experience with the US Open for him. You have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all of the important sports news. Don't forget you can listen to New Zealand Sports Radio on the go. Just download the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatcher. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and catch you tomorrow.